Howdy y'all, you got the Bulldog on the channel. Been a long time since I've seen this issue, and then twice in one day. What we got is two different vehicles. Customer worked on them themselves, trying to save a little money so that they're not paying for diagnostics they don't need. You know, it costs an arm and a leg for diagnostics. First one, 2012 Patriot. He didn't spend much money on it. He hooked up his little code reader scanner and it threw out a code of cam sensor 1 or single sensor circuit performance, and he looked and found the cam sensor and replaced it, and code came back, cam sensor 1 single sensor performance. Okay, he pulled the sensor back out, had a warranty, put another one in. Okay, code came back. All right, he took it to a shop. They looked at it. They said, well, it's got cam phasers out of it. You have to put cam phasers in it. Okay, I don't want to spend that much money on it, but it still runs. You're going limp-in mode on it. So he takes it to another guy. That guy says, well, it's got timing chains out. It's out of time. Okay. Well, he brings it home. He puts his code reader on it again. Cam sensor 1, circuit performance. So he pulls the sensor out one more time, has it warranted. Again, they're done by this time. And goes ahead, changes it. Same thing, no difference. Well, he doesn't want to drive it anymore, so parks it. Months down the road, here it comes into our shop. And we hook it up to the computer, of course, read out the code, of course, cam sensor 1 or single sensor performance. And I look, I look over the back of the block. Well, that one's new. Sensor 1 hadn't been changed. Had two sensors, one on one cam, one on the other. He was changing the one on the back because that was the only one he could see. He thought it only had one. Be careful about your generic code readers. They don't tell you the whole story. They just tell you what they know, which is not much, you know. They don't have a lot. They don't have code definitions. They got just a short deal. It's generic stuff. Here's what we got. I put a sensor in it, and immediately that code went away. Drove it, come back with a different code. Cam misalignment. Clear that code out. Take it, drive it, come back. Cam crank out of sync. 3 times, clear out the codes. 3 different codes, come back, which is all related to misalignment. We talked to the customer. He said, well, authorize us to go ahead and pull the valve cover on it and check the mechanical timing of the motor. Pull the valve cover and roll it over, line the cams up. The cams line up perfectly. Look at the marks. Of course, the marks are splayed like this. You can't hardly tell where they're supposed to go. They're supposed to go on cutter links on the chain. Well, they never line up afterwards, but everything looked good. There was no noise coming out of them. The phasers were not loose, so chain was not loose. Nothing going on inside that looks like it was bad. But I look over there, my boss looks back in there and says, hey, look at that rear sensor. I look back. The front sensor that I replaced had an air gap. The distance between the end of the sensor and the spiker wheel that triggers it. And on the front one that I changed, it was about like that. Normal. The one in the back that he changed, that the customer changed, was about that gap. I look back here and the sensor was caulked in the hole, crooked, because this O-ring did not go in. And since it's a plastic sensor, it was all deformed. I don't know if you can tell by the angles. This one on top is the one that I replaced from the front of the engine that was bad. Once it got a good reading from, because this sensor was bad to begin with. Once it got a good reading from this sensor, then it started throwing the misalignment codes because it knew what to compare it to. This sensor here, this arm here that holds it down, was all warped out of place because it was twisted. Cleaned the hole up, popped the new sensor in, made sure it got in flush, torqued it down, cleared the codes, drive it. We're good to go. Now, I videoed all of that, but some kind of glitch or corrupted file, something, I lost the video. So we're making two of them. This is the second vehicle, Kia Rio, and he come in with a list, and I added it up, $500 with parts. Code it had was no crank signal. Here's the brand new crank sensor he installed with a straight edge, sitting there flush. Look at that. Cocked sideways out of the hole. The hole had a ring of rust around it. And where the flange was, where it mounted up, it was all flaky with rust. So you couldn't install the sensor in all the way. It cocked in the hole and deformed the sensor. It's plastic. Once they bend like that, they're junk. There's nothing to hold it in. There's no reason for it to stay straight. Took it out, cleaned all the hole out, ordered a new sensor. It came in this morning, well, actually this afternoon. Cleaned the hole out, lubed it up, stuck it in place, made sure that the thing popped down in there like it should, put a bolt in it, cleared the codes out, drove it, we're good to go. So I added it up, $500 in parts alone for that one. $100 with a labor diagnostic goes a long way when you don't fix it for $500. So think about that. I hear about a lot of stuff. It's been to this shop and that shop, and I understand that people feel that mechanics will take them. Some of them will. I don't know how many. As far as mechanics go, I've only ever worked here and in my own shop. So I've not had to go to other places. I don't know. All I see is what comes in here. Like this, like that other one, where it went to 2 different shops, and for whatever reason, no one knew what was wrong. We knew that sensor was bad within a few minutes. Just some checks. And then we found out the other problem, which had nothing to do with the original problem. It was caused by the customer. It's back there in the back. You can't really get to it to really see. So it's an honest mistake, but it was a mistake nonetheless. And same with that Rio. You couldn't see down in there. And if you don't know that it's really that important, you might not check. It went in. I put the bolt in. But yeah, it tightened down, but it torqued down and bent. And that car would run. Once it figured out it wasn't going to get a crank signal, it would run. We checked it with a scope, and it would have a signal. It just sit there. When it was warm enough, like I say, it's single digits out there. It was below 0 last night. Fahrenheit, for anybody that's not in this country. So for you people from the rest of the way around the world, what is that? 10, 12 degrees below 0, I think. I don't know. But that's what we run into. This guy, he come in with a list on this Rio. He replaced the cam sensor, crank sensor, fuel pump, purge valve, spark plugs, ignition coils, cleaned the throttle body out, The coils themselves are almost $200. 150 to 200 depending on where you get them, because they're between 25 and 50 a piece. And spark plugs, depending on which ones you get, the wrong ones were like $7 a piece. The right ones are like $15 a piece. Just that's how it works. But like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it all around. We'll talk to you later, and hopefully it's with good news on your vehicle that somebody else didn't screw up first. See ya.